to the Natty's finest Week 11 Fantasy Football Report. I'm your commissioner, and as always, reporting to you live from the Natty's finest studios. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, by now in the season, it's about that time where each move, each ad, each drop, each bench, each start is magnified. We're only 3 weeks away from the playoffs. So, a bench this week could really determine if you're in the playoffs or if you're not. And you can tell by the commissioner's voice, that's an exciting time in the Natty's finest Fantasy Football League. Okay, tonight's game between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins, it's another C-grade matchup. However, the commish does have one must start, and that's the man, CJ Spiller. He's going to be housing the load tonight. No Fred Jackson. Some notables that you might want to get in your lineup. I don't know if you're hurting out there. I think Fitzpatrick could have a pretty big game. Wouldn't start him, though, if you don't need to. Reggie Bush, another probably 8 to 10 points with combined run and pass. Didn't do much last week, so I don't really have faith in him. And also, Stevie Johnson and Hartline, 2 receivers. Get a lot of looks, could get you, some solid wide receiver 2 numbers. Not your number 1, but wide receiver 2 numbers. Okay, for this week's report, we'll talk a little bit about last week's matchups and, what manager did take down the weekly award for highest player points. We'll also take a look at the current standings and see how last week's matchups, switched them around. We got a lot going on in the standings now. We got to cover this week's matchups, the game of the week. I also was able to get a hold of the manager of Gully, and that's Mr. Adam Gully, to talk to him, take a little bit of time out of his big schedule and see what's going on in his head with his team. We'll get with that a little bit later in the show. At this point, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. More after this. It's Commish, Natty's finest.
This is Mississippi State's offensive set. 2nd and 2 on our own 24. What defensive set might we call?
Eagle zipper hero, unless the setback shifts into the eye.
Good. 3rd and 7.
Okie Thunder Lion.
What's your assignment?
Kill the quarterback. Hit the tight end so hard his girlfriend dies. Kill everybody.
There you go.
Okay, let's get into last week's matchups, starting with Dem Boys versus Whoa Dare. Matt Ryan, he's just a beast this year, putting up 38. Dem Boys took down Whoa Dare pretty handily. Coming up next, So Fucking Legit versus MF Jones. MF Jones, no quarterback, no RG3 equals no win. So Fucking Legit takes it. Wildcats versus Gully. Wildcats team coming on strong right now. Chris Johnson with his 5th double-digit fantasy output. I think he's back, ladies and gentlemen. I proposed a question last week, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. He is back to the old CJ2K. EA Sports versus You Got Moss. Another hot team in the league coming on strong at the end. Defeating You Got Moss, Calvin, and AJ are just too much for any team out there nowadays. America's team taking down the easily beatable whole effing show. Not going to spend too much time. Nonetheless, got to know AP did do a lot of work for America's team coming on strong for the playoff push. The Rook beating another team that really don't want to acknowledge Shady McCoy's. Rook did what he was supposed to do, beat a less talented team. Okay, the weekly award for Week 10 was highest points by any player. Goes to Philip Rivers, putting up 39 or 40 points for the Wildcats. So, receive $20, my friend. Great job. Week 11 will be highest total points by quarterback. Has to be a quarterback out there, guys. All right, let's get into how last week's matchups affected the standings. A lot going on in the standings now. Here we go. Okay, exciting times here in Natty's finest. We now have 3 first-place teams between You Got Moss, So Fucking Legit, and the Wildcats. At the bottom, controversially, we have a tie as well. Dem Boys, Gully, and MF Jones are still above water, but a loss this week could do damage. EA Sports and Whoa Dare, I have to mention, are not out of the water yet. They still have some life left. EA more so, but, just got to keep winning at this point in the season. No room for losses. All right, this week's matchups turning out to be rather significant for some teams. Let's start with Dem Boys versus Gully. But before that, let me digress. he'll take you to the interview with the commissioner in Gully Gully.
Greetings, it's the commissioner, and I am here with Gully Gully. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing alright.
Great, good to have you here. Back to the Nati's Finest Studios. I think it's been like a year since we had you here. How you been? How's your team doing this year?
Well, we started out strong,
I should know that.
but we're not looking so hot right now.
I mean, I do see you have a playoff spot right now. Is it a win, have to win situation this week? Is it a must win? Do you need to win this week, or do you see yourself losing and possibly winning next week and still having that playoff chance?
Well, I definitely need a win, but I think this week, I don't think I'm going to win.
Okay, you're playing them boys this week. You have Tom Brady. You're up against Matt Ryan. I'd say the quarterback matchup's pretty equal. What makes you so doubtful? I mean, don't you feel like you're going to win? They're 5-5. You're 5-5. Why can't you win?
Well, besides Tom Brady, my best player, Percy Hartman, he's on a bye. I got one of my running backs, Mike Bradshaw, on a bye. Brandon Lloyd ain't doing shit. Larry Fitzgerald ain't doing nothing. I'm starting Rashad Jennings, which I thought he would do something that MJD was out, but he ain't doing nothing. And I have to start him because I ain't got anybody on my bench to play.
So where's the upside in your team? It sounds like your team's not even legit. I mean, you have a playoff spot, and we all know 2 years ago, EA Sports, if you make it into the playoffs, anything can happen. Why are you so doubtful? You don't seem confident in your team.
Well, they're not performing right now. I got two receivers that, first 4 round picks, and they ain't doing nothing. Larry Fitzgerald ain't doing nothing. They ain't giving him the ball.
I think it's the new quarterback. They got scaled in there, it might be the new quarterback situation. Okay, let's talk about future down the road. You got them boys this week. You don't think you're sitting too good. EA Sports next week. Teams coming on, at the right time. And as I said 2 years ago, we won't get too much into it, but he got into the playoffs last week of the season and ended up winning the Super Bowl. It's looking like the same thing this year.
Yeah,
The New York Giants of fantasy football. It's the exact same thing. But you play him next week. It could be a must-win for whoever wins that game is going to get that last playoff spot. How do you feel about that matchup? I mean, he's the scariest team in the league right now. I wouldn't want to play that guy.
Yeah, his team's really good right now. I mean, he has 3 of the best receivers, but all my guys are off bye next week. I got my regular lineup back, and I beat him about 3 weeks ago, so I think I can do it again.
Okay, there you have it. Beat him 3 weeks ago. All right, this is the commish. Gully Gully, thanks for coming into the Nati's Finest Studio, sir. Whenever you want to come back, we're here. And we'll be right back to the Nati's Finest Report. Commish, week 11.
Okay, there you have it, Gully Gully, the commissioner, nice words. Thanks again for coming on the show, bud. For this matchup, obviously both teams need wins. I'm sitting at 5-5. You heard it from Gully Gully. He's not confident in his team. A lot of players on the bye. I'm not going to call it. It's a great matchup to follow. If you're out there watching, take time out and see what's going on with this matchup. Next up, we have Wildcats versus MF Jones. Solid matchup right here. The commission doesn't always go against the Wildcats this year, especially with Maurice Jones-Drew, Chris Johnson, Ray Rice, all those running backs. Well, this week, he only has Ray Rice. Chris Johnson's on bye. Everyone knows MJD is hurt. I'm going to go with MF Jones. I hope it's not the kiss of death, the KOD, and I hope you do good, Wildcats, but I think MF Jones got you this week. Whoa there versus EA Sports. Matchup of the teams that are currently out of the playoffs looking for a way in. So, plain and simple, whoever loses this game, sorry, your season's done. With that said, commission's rolling with EA Sports. His team is just too hot right now to go against this guy. Shady McCoys versus the whole effing show. No time for shitty teams here on the Nati's Finest. I'm going to skip right over that. This week, I got a treat for you guys. 2 games of the week. GOWs this week. We are at that time. So fucking legit versus the Rook. So fucking sitting at 7-3. The Work sitting at 6-4. Could be a great matchup. Playoff type matchup. In the end, I think the league MVP, probably fantasy's MVP for So Fucking Legit, Peyton Manning wins it for him again. He's just too hot right now. Averaging 300 yards a game, 2 or 3 touchdowns. Gotta roll with Peyton. Next, GOW game of the week. You got Moss versus America's team. Another playoff type matchup. I gotta go with You Got Moss. He lost last week, barely, without his baby A-Rod. He's coming back off a bye. I'm going to stick with the team that's been hot all season. You got Moss wins this game and takes another step up to first place in the end. Excuse me out there. Now, let's look at the power rankings and see who's at the top, see who's at the bottom. Here we go. Natty's Finest Power Rankings brought to you by Natty's Finest Studios. 1. You got Moss. 2. So fucking legit. 3. Wildcats. 4. MF Jones. 5. The Rook. 6. EA Sports. 7. America's Team. 8. Gully. 9. Dem Boys. 10. Whoa there. 11. The Whole Effin' Show. 12. Shady McCoys. Okay, that about wraps up our show this week. I'd like to give a special shout out to Gully. Thanks for coming on the show. We always love having you over here in the Natty's Finest Studios. You're welcome back anytime. Good luck to all the managers this week. I know some of you may need it more than others. And as always, may the odds be ever in your favor. It's the Commish, Natty's Finest Studios. Peace.